So this is really exciting, Drew. Drew, I've stalked you from afar for a really long time. We have so many mutual friends. Um, and I'm super excited that we are finally connecting and especially for what we're connecting on. Thank you for joining me here tonight.
Yes, yes. Welcome to the greenhouse. We've got a lot of really fun, exciting things happening down here. And yes, I'm equally as excited to see all of these plants find homes. On this side, we've got chrysanthemums that are being grown, and then over here we've got dahlias that are being forced for cuttings and rooted cuttings. So yeah, lots of fun.
Awesome. All right, friends. Well, I think we better officially get started here. Welcome tonight. If we've never met before, if you've just happened upon us, my name is Lisa Mason Ziegler, and I am joined here with Drew of Clary Joyce Flowers. Hi, Drew.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
I am really good. I'm super excited about this because I remember how I wished I'd have been able to have this opportunity so long ago. I won't even say how many years ago it was when I purchased my first cut flower plugs or plants to be able to grow in a cutting garden. And I just want to thank you for making this opportunity available to us and to our people. And so, friends, tonight, I'm going to ask Drew to first just tell us a little bit about himself and his operation because y'all, it is impressive.
Sounds good. Thank you, Lisa. Yes, very excited to, provide the opportunity to move more plants around to growers and get these beautiful things growing. But all the things we're going to talk about tonight and where I'm at right now has not been something that I walked into. This is a garden that I've cultivated every step along the way. And all of what Clara Joyce Flowers is started as a 4-H project. And 4-H and agriculture is something that is very rich in my family's history. And it's a little sector of the world that I grew up in. But I knew that I needed to come up with something different. I wasn't born into a livestock or a grain operation, so flowers and vegetables at the time fit the bill. Um, Fast forward to kind of where we are now, we've really expanded and adapted to the situations, the environments, and the types of clientele that we've come across. I say we because I'm definitely not in this by myself. I'm very fortunate to, over the last 10 years, have uh, crossed paths with some really incredible people that have found alignment with what I believe in and the message of what I'm trying to build here. So they've joined our team, and I'm very, very proud of that. But what we do here is we are firstly growers. We grow specialty cut flowers and foliage. We grow about 20 acres of cut material that is harvested, sold, and shipped primarily to florists and design houses in Chicago, Madison, and Milwaukee. So, kind of this upper Midwest region, right around the Great Lakes area. And that is a season that runs primarily for us from April through November. And the main crops that we produce are peonies in the spring, dahlias in the summer, and chrysanthemums in the fall, which falls right into alignment with where I was kind of facing some hurdles when I was getting started growing, and that was with sourcing quality genetics and unique varieties that were not always available. And I very early on learned the process of propagation and invested very heavily early on in greenhouses, kind of like we see behind me, so that I was able to propagate all of the material that I needed for our own field and greenhouse production. Go
That's
ahead.
awesome, Drew. And I just want to say welcome to everybody. And please sign in and let us know where you're joining us from. I think that's always just so exciting to hear and to see where everybody's coming in. So, welcome, everybody. Drew, 20 acres?
Isn't that
Oh
crazy?
my, oh my gosh. All right, carry on. Sorry, I didn't mean to disrupt you there.
You're good. You're good. So learning the values, fundamentals, and the finer points of propagation was something that I really latched onto right from the beginning, and that led me into the next chapter or the next garden bed, you could say, of the business, and that was with specialty plant propagation. I'm a collector at heart. I come from a family of collectors. It's in our blood, and plants seem to fit the bill with that and with me and what I was doing. And that's kind of where the dahlia collection started to take off. I was forcing dahlia tubers in the basement under grow lights to get those early cuttings going. Um, and then that very quickly blew up and expanded into hundreds of varieties of dahlias in the collection. And then shortly after I was bitten by the dahlia bug, um, heirloom chrysanthemums started to take a hold also as a way for us to extend the season beyond what dahlias can typically carry us through. And it was a crop line that really felt in alignment with what we were doing and what we had the capacity to do. So our chrysanthemum collection has about 70 to 80 varieties that are on availability. And one of the areas of heirloom and specialty chrysanthemums that I've really focused on are the very hardy and the early blooming chrysanthemums. Typically, when we see chrysanthemums being propagated and sold for cut flowers, they're not going to be super early blooming and not necessarily cut out for field or open garden production. And that was something that I wanted to be able to check off, was to be able to meet the needs of our field production space, which we're upper Illinois, we're zone 5A, 5B, so we get really, really cold. In January and February, we get about 2 weeks of -20, and it can get brutal. But we've found curated and collected chrysanthemums that can handle it, and they come back religiously, and I'm very excited to be able to continue to share those.
I have a question. Did you just say they overwinter outside?
They do, yes. There are there
Not
is a
realize that, Drew.
yeah, there is a very nice core group of our collection that I found on a road trip up to northern Minnesota. And it was just one of these happenstance things, and stumbled across a little collective garden sale, and brought them back home, and they make wonderful hardy perennials.
That is such good news. Because if it'll overwinter for you, that is a lion's
Yeah.
share of people. And folks, I wanted to say if you all have a question that comes up, please post it in the comments, and Drew and I will look at those at the end. Jesse will gather them up. So please don't hesitate to ask a question. Wow, Drew, I'm kind of bitten now. All right, tell us more. Tell us what you have and kind of what the story is here.
Sure, sure. So I've got one more part of the business to cover, and that is we do a lot of wedding and event design. So when you are on our website, when it comes to the color choices of what we offer as plants, because the plants that we are growing and selling as transplants, just like this, are the same varieties that we're growing here on the farm for our own use, and also for our florists that we sell wholesale to farmers markets, weddings, etc. Um,
Right.
so the varieties that we're offering are really those tried and true things that we use in our own plantings, landscaping, but also harvesting and designs and bouquets and all of those things too.
That is awesome. Um, you do weddings too?
Yes, we do.
Oh my goodness. All right, y'all. I'm just getting more and more impressed all the time here. All right. So should we go here next?
Let's talk dahlias. Dahlias are going to be the first thing that will be blooming in our offering. And what I have here is a 4 pack of a variety that is called Linda's Baby. And Linda's Baby is a variety that I've had in my collection for a long time. It's a beautiful mid peach tone. But aside from the variety details, all of our rooted dahlias and chrysanthemums that are in our bulk or our primary collections are going to be sold in 4 packs like this. So it's a very easy to handle size. You're not required to order 50 or 72. They come in packs of 4. So if 4 is all you need, that's great. And if you need 40, then just order 10 packs and you're good to go. And this is exactly what they'll look like when they get sent to you. So what we do on our end is if you look behind me here, in these trays and in these flats, there are clumps of mother tubers that were grown over the 2025 season. They were dug out, put into this greenhouse, and they are now producing dahlia cuttings that look like this. So this is the vegetative dahlia cutting that we are harvesting, and then we are sticking them into these 4 packs and then rooting them down. So when you receive these, you will have a plant that is ready to go. And this one even has some baby tubers growing already. But we grow these in a size of cell that is easy to pack, easy to ship, and easy to handle when you receive it. For those of us who are maybe familiar with tray sizes, this would be the size of a 128 plug. So the physical dimensions of that are a 1 by 1 by 2. So it's a nice, easy to plant, easy to handle size that is good to go.
I was so pleasantly surprised when I received my box from you last year that
Yeah,
had the dahlias and the mums, and just how sturdy the transplants were. When we opened the box, and um, I've gotten commercial plug trays for years,
right, right.
um, and it's pretty amazing how they've come along with how you package them. But I have to say that my plants, which are overnighted, right, so they're not spending a lot of time getting to you, they were not only the plants in great shape, but the way that you shipped them. They came to me in just great, ready to go to the garden, but we know that we harden them off for a few days. So I'm just so impressed, Drew.
Good, thank you. Packaging is something that is definitely not overlooked here. We don't necessarily shoot or go for the showiest or the fanciest packaging. I just want to make sure that we're doing everything we can from a prepping or a prep perspective to make sure that these get to you and to the customers in the best way that they can. So the way that we do that is in order to maintain humidity and internal moisture, each of these strips gets dropped into a plastic bag so that it can maintain humidity. And then, even in the case that there is a delay in transportation, that humidity staying close to the vegetation and the tissue will oftentimes be enough of a buffer to facilitate that delay. And you'll be able to work through that pretty easily. You did mention hardening off, and that is a very good point. So, all of our cuttings are grown inside structures like you see we're in tonight. So, when customers, growers, gardeners do receive their plants, it is encouraged to harden those off. Hardening off, for those of us who might not be completely aware, is the method or the act or the process of introducing these transplants and rooted cuttings to cooler or more realistic growing temperatures to what they'll be experiencing outside when they do get planted out. Um, so that might be keeping them on a front porch. Typically, in this hardening off stage, we want to make sure that we're not scorching them. So providing shade as needed is a good idea. If you need to warm them up in the hardening off process, but if you need to cool them down, then that would be a situation where you received your cuttings and it's still kind of cool outside. Then we're going to want to make sure that we're keeping them in a shady spot, slowly introducing these cuttings to the cooler, more realistic temperatures so that they've got a smoother transplant process.
That all makes really good sense. And yeah, mine, they were those beautiful transplants. I was just so impressed when we opened the box. Were in that plastic bag, and they were not dry. They were still very happy campers. Yeah.
Good. Good, good. So one fun thing with um, what we've continued to kind of add and build upon over the last couple of seasons is that we sell the majority of our plant material as rooted, yes, but we also sell them as unrooted cuttings too. So if there is someone who has propagation experience or wants to try their hand at rooting their own, you are able to purchase URCs or unrooted cuttings as well. URCs are typically going to be available at a lower price point because there's less labor, propane, greenhouse space, all of the above on our end. But with URC material, you are completely in control as the customer on how these perform. So that can be a little intimidating. So totally aware and understand if the rooted route is the easier option, but it's important to know what you have available.
Yeah. So that's either exciting or terrifying.
Understandable,
Yeah.
understandable. In addition to the 4 packs of our tried and true commercial varieties that we have available, we also have an entirely different dahlia selection that are our specialty varieties. So things that are more in that unicorn, hard to find realm of the dahlia world. Those are available as single plants. So if you are a gardener who has some big, beautiful pots that you're looking to have some nice big focal points in, that would be a wonderful option to try a bunch of different varieties, and you would get 1 plant of each variety that you ordered as opposed to 4.
Okay. Great.
Shall we move into mums?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
cool. So heirloom chrysanthemums and cutting chrysanthemums are something that is definitely been a primary focus of my attention as the farm has started to and continue to grow, evolve, and we continue in expanding acreage. We're always looking for really rugged, hardy perennials, and some of our chrysanthemums are able to facilitate that. Um, on our website, clarajoyceflowers.com, in the chrysanthemum section, you are able to filter out by bloom time and also by hardiness zone. So we are comfortably a zone 5 here. So all of our data is kind of dependent on our growing zone. But you are able to see the varieties that are going to be, quite rugged. So some of my favorites, Blush Strokes, Pumpkin Eyes, Royal Glamour. Those are varieties that are going to bloom nice and early. Oftentimes, they'll start setting bud in August,
Mm.
come into show in September, and then carry into October as well. We typically start to see the majority of questions and customer support coming in on chrysanthemums when it comes into the mid and the late season blooming varieties. Late blooming varieties oftentimes won't come into full show until end of October, even the end of November. So if there's someone who's growing in an open field space or an open garden space, not necessarily in a high tunnel or a greenhouse, sometimes those varieties won't hit their full show before you get taken out with frost. So
Yeah.
something to
Mm.
be aware of.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so there are some that bloom earlier. And I think that's just a
Yes.
great point to remind people of. Maybe the late one is beautiful, but won't be beautiful if you lose it before it comes into full show. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yes, very true. And from a purchasing perspective, the chrysanthemums are available in 4 packs also, just like those dahlia cuttings that we were talking about before. And you can also purchase the chrysanthemums as URCs too, as unrooted cuttings. The chrysanthemum cuttings are much easier to propagate and root than dahlias are. So I oftentimes suggest, and I think this is a fun idea to get, grandkids and young folks involved, that rooting chrysanthemum cuttings is very easy as a hands-on activity. I can remember when I was little, like the thing that I was fiddling around with was spider plants, and rooting those down. But chrysanthemums are very, very similar in regards to ease of doing. So if you've got little ones, that might be a fun hands-on project too.
So that is really cool. All right.
Questions?
No, no.
No?
I'm just taking it all in. So we have mums and we have dahlias. And are there, I guess we should just move on or move into how people can order those and how they would select what
Sure.
planting dates and that you have different shipping dates because I know a lot of our friends are new to ordering plants.
Sure. Yep, totally. And it can be a little overwhelming to try to
Mhm.
navigate that for the first time.
Yes.
Um, in the greater horticulture world, we operate on a system called week number. And the reason that is, and the easiest way for me to explain it, is that horticulture is bigger than just the United States. Horticulture is bigger than just China. It is all of us kind of working on the same field. And in order to facilitate that, we cannot work on day numbers because it is a different day here than it is in Kenya, than it is in Japan. So we operate on a system called weeks. So the first week in January is week one, and then it goes all the way through the end of December. For the everyday consumer, what we've done is we on the website have things separated out by weeks, but we also give you the actual calendar date as a reference point. So when it comes to ordering dahlias and mums and even baby's breath, which is another product line that we have available, I suggest placing your orders to be received right around the time of your last frost date. So if you know what growing zone you're in, it's real easy to ask Google what the last frost date is for your region or for your zone. And then that is when you want to select to receive your plants. But it's important to know that all of the plants that we're growing and selling and shipping are custom grown to order. So that's where there's a little bit of a continued learning process and a learning cycle. So even though you are wanting to potentially receive your plants on week 16, which is the next open shipping cycle, you need to place those orders now so that we can get those um, harvested and grown and prepped and ready to be sent to you. Um, and that is something that is important to remember. Week 16, like I said, is the next shipping cycle that is open. Week 14 has already closed. Week 16 hits right in the middle of April. So if you are a grower who is experiencing your last frost date right around the mid-April area, that's going to be a perfect time to receive your plants. I know for us here in Zone 5, we don't hit our last frost date until the middle end of May. So we want to shoot for a week 18 or even a week 20 shipping date with the understanding of being ready and able to plant outside pretty quickly.
So you plan on your plants arriving when it's safe for them to be outside and be hardened off,
Yep,
right?
yep.
And that it's time to plant them. You don't want to jump ahead, which I know that I used to be guilty of that. It's like, oh, I'll just go ahead and get them. Well, then you have to support them with light
Yes,
and moisture and
yes.
temperature and all those things. And so the later shipping window, so we have week 16 and then there's week 18 and week 20.
Yep,
So my last frost date is mid-April. So week
perfect.
16 would be perfect for me. However, it's not too late for me to do 18 or 20 either, right?
Right, right. No, not at all. And the other thing too to keep in mind is that a lot of these plants, especially dahlias, are going to perform better in a warmer soil condition. Dahlias do not like to have cold roots, and they also don't like to have cold foliage. They're not frost hardy. So it is definitely not a bad idea to hold off for a later shipping date, with the understanding of having a better overall plant and overall growing experience also. When we're working with rooted cuttings and plant vegetative plant material in general, it's important to remember that all of the chlorophyll production has to happen in the leaves. Whereas when we are growing dahlias from tubers, there is an immense amount of carbohydrate and sugar storage in that tuber. So if the tuber grows and it freezes, there's enough energy to come back and do that cycle again. We don't have that luxury with cuttings.
Good point. That's a good point. Um, well, I will say that, the dahlias that we grew last year from you, the plants, did absolutely fabulous. And it was, I mean, I just don't think people understand. It is so quick and easy to plant those plants
It is.
versus tubers. I mean,
Yes.
it makes a difference.
It does. Yeah, we over the last 2 seasons have completely one removed tuber planting out of our field operations. So all 7 acres of dahlias that we grow here are done by cuttings. There are no tubers being planted for that reason that you just mentioned. It's so much easier and
So
faster
easy.
to plant them.
So
And we also don't offer tubers on our website either. We've eliminated that line item just in an effort to work with the plants.
so I know that you sent us some images. Why don't we ask Jesse to bring those up and you can show us, you can talk us through that. What is
Sure,
that?
sure. So this is one of our large houses that has more of our dahlia varieties for mother material that's forcing. And then that tray that I'm holding right there is a tray of freshly stuck dahlia cuttings. So those that you see there are just like the little URCs that I showed you earlier when we were talking about dahlias, stuck into a full-size tray. So that tray is a 128, or there's 128 plants in that tray. And then we would pull from that for planting or shipping, and that's exactly how they're grown.
So, Drew, so I think for people to really wrap their heads around it, so when people place their order is actually custom grown for them. I
Yes.
mean, you include them in the class and can't cut for them. And then how long does it take you from when that window closes to for that plant to grow up?
Sure. So, kind of the process or the timeline of that is when a shipping week order or when a shipping week cycle closes, what we do in the office is go through every single order that has been selected for that shipping week. So, a perfect example this week, when the week 16 cycle closes, Ashley in the office will be going through every single piece of paper that has come in for the week 16 cycle. And every variety and every quantity gets documented into big spreadsheets. From there, we pad those numbers with some cushion in case there's something that happens,
Mhm.
whether we have, a fungal outbreak or the greenhouse gets too hot or whatever. Then we have some cushion to make sure that we have enough plants to still fulfill those orders. From there, we print tags. So every single plant order that is sent out, every pack, every URC, etc., will come with an identification tag so that you'll be able to plant this in your garden bed. So you'll know one, where the product came from, what it is, and the variety also. And then from there, cuttings are harvested and picked to meet those quantities that we've tabulated in the office. And then it's a 4 to 6 week rooting period to fill out the individual plug. Our goal and my goal is to make sure that the plants that we're shipping out can be easily pulled and removed from any packaging. So, perfect example is this is exactly what we want to see. We want to see nice, healthy vegetation. We want to see soil intact when it's pulled from the strip, and we want to be able to see roots hitting the bottom of that plug as well. So that's the goal from our end as production. Um, what we will often see too is that those plants will continue to grow. So not only are those cuttings producing roots and root mass, but they're also growing
Mm.
vegetatively on top. So we should have a nice full size, ready to go plant when it comes out of the greenhouses. Next picture. There you go. That's a ready to go dahlia cutting. That is, you can see nice, big, beautiful white pearly roots, nice and healthy, bright green vegetation foliage on top. and that's perfect, ready to be hardened off. There's a perfect example of a 4 pack of mums from last shipping cycle, and 4 plants ready to go. And that strip that you see there will be dropped into a plastic bag to keep the humidity in and around that vegetation, and then packed into a box and sent to wherever it needs to go.
So tell us about that. So let's just say I just received my box.
Yep. So you receive your box, and all of our plants are shipped via FedEx. So we've been shipping plants for a while, and we've tried all of the all of the carriers, and FedEx is the most reliable. And once you receive it, you're going to open it up, make sure that everything looks good. If there are things that are broken or damaged, please let us know. We're more than happy to help facilitate questions. We are very, very fortunate and very lucky to have an incredibly knowledgeable woman who works for us. Her name is Megan. And Megan is a retired nursery grower, and she
Mm.
grew up in her family's nursery business. And she is about as close to a plant wizard as you can find. And she can answer your questions. She can help you troubleshoot, and she is a gem. If you have questions, please do reach out. We're more than happy to help. But once you get your plants unpackaged, so plastic bags off, get them into a sunny spot, whether that can be outside, which is preferred, in a cold frame or next to a sunny window, or even under grow lights if that's what you've got available. And start to get those chlorophyll receptors and that sunlight situation going again. You have to remember that these plants have been inside of a cardboard box, and inside that cardboard box, there is no sun, there is no natural warmth. So they are going to need a little bit of help to get them active and happy and moving again.
Right.
And that's where you come in, because you're the gardener. And that's where the joy and the fun really begins.
All right. So those are mums there you're holding?
Yep. So that is a picture taken basically right where I'm sitting right now, same house. And those are what the chrysanthemum URCs look like when we are picking them off the plants. Just like these, we're always trying to use growth tips or terminal buds for our propagation. And that is going to give us a nice consistent product when it comes to rooting, and a very consistent timeline. And then that allows us to make sure that everything is nice and scheduled and in queue, ready to go. So those chrysanthemum cuttings that you see in that photo would either be stuck into a 128 plug flat to be grown into a 4 pack like this, or they would be packed into a paper file, and then they would be sent out as URCs.
Okay. Oh,
Okay, so here we go. This is the fun part. So the chrysanthemums that we'll be looking at and talking about here are going to fall in that early blooming hardy file that we rely on. So I am fairly certain that this variety is it's either Helen May or Chiffon. Those are two of my favorite, super light, soft blush, very nice, usable stems. So you can use them for bouquets, beautiful arrangements. They are perfect for wedding work,
mm,
and they are very, very lovely. You will notice that as chrysanthemums open, especially when it comes to these lighter, warmer, softer tone ranges, that the center of that bloom will oftentimes change a little bit of color tone based on temperature. So that handful that Megan has in that photo right there was actually towards the tail end of our growing season. So the colder nights were bringing out some of those warmer buttercream, borderline apricot tones at the center of that flower, where the outer ranges are still in that soft kind of pastel-y light pink. Very beautiful.
it is beautiful.
Okay, this is one of my favorites. This is Blush Strokes. Blush Strokes is another very early, hardy blooming variety, and makes nice, big, beautiful sprays. with chrysanthemums, when they are growing, it is oftentimes recommended and suggested to pinch them halfway through their growing season. So we're usually doing pinching, which is where we're taking off the upper portion of the plant material in the middle end of July. And what that allows the plant to do is to produce more lateral branches. And those lateral branches are what turn into thinner, more usable stems. Um, Blush strokes is a really good variety to learn that process with. Because if you don't pinch blush strokes, you'll get these big, beautiful, showy sprays of bloom and of color that'll have 10, 15, 20 little individual flowers on every giant stem. And if you do pinch it, you'll get nice, big, beautiful, long stems with just a handful of flowers on. But you'll get more of them. So that's a really, really great variety to learn the inner workings and kind of the craft of plantsmanship, if you will, with chrysanthemums, and also very hardy, and I love it.
She's a beauty.
She is. She's a winner. This was a variety that Floret picked up from us for the 2025 season. So if you go back to the apricot early blooming chrysanthemum reels, you'll see that was included. Very beautiful.
It is that.
So this is an up and coming favorite of mine. This is called the Royal Glamour. I found this a couple seasons ago, and it is definitely a shapeshifter as the season progresses. So this is, I would comfortably say, this is the earliest blooming variety that we have in the collection. This one will set buds for us in August, and those first buds will start to open. And then as the season continues to progress and the days go on, it shifts from kind of a brick tone, if you will, into this really beautiful range where you have tones of rose and you have tones of apricot and you have kind of this like soft blushy coming into play. It really is a wonderful fall variety that isn't orange. We see so much fall color discussion revolving around orange and tones of orange. And this is both a complement and also something different to the fall offering. Very beautiful. There's your code. There's your link.
Yep, there it is. And so, how old would you say those mums are, those cuttings? Or those are pretty close, aren't they?
So though that picture is actually what these pots that I'm sitting next to look like. So I'll pull this out here. So this is a 3-gallon pot that all of our mothers are growing in. And
Oh,
this is what we will harvest from. So when we take cuttings, we are taking just the tip off like so, and planting out. When it comes to plant spacing in the field or in the garden, we are usually shooting for 9 to 12 inches in between the plants, because if we are pinching, which we as growers are, those plants are going to branch out and take up a lot of space. So we need to give them kind of more than you would allow for a sunflower or for a snapdragon, if you will. We need to be able to facilitate those broader shoulders that those plants are going to produce. And then the fortunate thing, or the nice thing, is with a lot of the early blooming varieties is that we don't provide support for them. When
hmm.
you start to look at some of the mid-season and late-season chrysanthemums, they get so tall that you have to provide either some sort of netting or a corral style plant support. But with some of the early varieties, they're blooming a little bit shorter. So we're going to be able to hit like that 12 to 18 inch stem very comfortably. And they're doing it with enough plant vigor and volume that they tend to hold themselves up. If you are someone who is really, really relying and banking on those stems being available, offering plant support is not a bad idea. I would never tell anybody to not do it, but
Yeah.
from our perspective, when we're growing a large volume, I don't want to cover 10 acres with Hortonova
Yeah.
or some sort of support. So we really do push the plants to the limit and see kind of what they can handle. Um, and those early varieties that we covered today in this video are ones that we do not support.
All right. Well, we have some. So Jesse brought up the website. If you are watching us on Instagram or Facebook, you can actually comment plant three, the word plant and the number three, and that'll message you this link that you can't click on. And so, but here in YouTube, you can click on the link. But I see that we have some questions, so I am going to bring those up, Drew. So, Drew, can you see the website? Can you see the along the bottom?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep,
so
I can see that.
I'm going to bring up a question and let's see if I think there you go to replace. So, hi from Canada. Are there mum perennials in zone 3?
Zone 3, yikes. That's
Yeah.
a really great question. I know that where I got my, or like the zone that I got a lot of my early and hardy varieties from, fall in zone 4. Zone 3, I don't have a lot of experience with, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. It just means that I haven't found them yet. So I'll do my best, see what I can find.
So, Drew, somebody that does live in zone 3, let's say, because we do tend to have a lot of those, um,
Okay.
is that somebody that would grow 'em for the season and then take cuttings at the end of the year? Or, you know what I mean, to perpetuate what they've gotten?
Yes, yes. So, what that cycle would look like is you would need to find plant material to plant in the spring, whether it comes from us or someone else. And then what you would be doing is digging that clump of mother material out in the fall. Um, Heirloom and pretty much all chrysanthemum mothers are very, very hardy and rugged. So I've seen people put them into pots and grow them as a house plant over the winter. Just keep them next to a sunny window, and they'll continue to produce green vegetation and foliage. And that is all propagative material. So then you would be able to take your own cuttings and plant and continue that growing process.
Yeah, that's good because I know that we were going to get that question. So Lisa asks, what would be the date night different temperature for unrooted cuttings undercover, or do they require consistent temperatures? I think
Sure.
somebody's trying to do it outside.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the great things with chrysanthemums is that they are, in general, pretty hardy. You definitely can root outside. What I would be very aware of is your soil temperature. Your air temperature is going to be able to change, and they would be able to handle it pretty well. But your soil temperature is going to have to be in the mid to upper 50s. That is like the bare minimum. Warmer than that is going to be preferred. So an easy way to bring up your soil temperature is to cover it with some sort of black material. Leave it in as exposed to the sun as you can for a while, 2, 3 weeks even. That black material is going to transfer that heat into the soil faster, which would then allow you to do that rooting process in the field.
Cool, that is helpful. Well, here's a good one. Do you allow master gardeners to come and volunteer?
So that's a really great question. We have kind of a very tight-knit crew, if you will, that we have working in the field and in the greenhouses. And the other thing to consider is that there are so many moving parts to our business and our operation. So we are growing flowers in the field, we're growing flowers in the greenhouse, we're harvesting and selling wholesale, we're doing weddings and events, we're doing community fundraisers that we custom grow product for. So having guests come in to help doesn't necessarily always fit the timeline and the daily operation. However, what we do encourage is that you come on the weekends for open field days for U-Picks. So our field and farm opens about early mid-season in June every Saturday for U-Pick days. Doesn't
Wow.
mean you have to come pay. If you don't want to pick, you can come walk the fields, self-guided tour as long as you want. And that's a great way to kind of see and experience the space.
Do you ship to Canada?
We do not ship to Canada, no. USDA is not the most friendly when it comes to small producers like us moving plant material across borders. So unfortunately, that is not something that we are able to facilitate.
On your website, how do you know which mum varieties are early bloomers?
Perfect. Great question. So towards the top of the available varieties, you'll be able to click a drop down that is going to be your filter. And that is where you'll be able to select early, mid-season, or late season bloomers. And then you can also filter out by hardiness zone too. So kind of like if you're on any other website and you wanted to select or filter out t-shirts that are available in a size medium. That same system and that same process is what we've integrated into our website, but with plant data.
Awesome. My question for the heirloom chrysanthemums regarding zone 5 were answered. Are there any that are not hardy?
Yes, there are so many mums that are not hardy. Um, One of the interesting things that I learned and gathered really quickly or really early information wise was that the vast majority of the big, fancy, showy disc bud chrysanthemums. So if you're looking at our collection, it would be things like River City, Gertrude, Jefferson Park. Those were all bred to be either grown in conservatories, um, grown in Japan, or grown in the Pacific Northwest. Those are the primary hubs for chrysanthemums. Those varieties are not going to be things that I would want to bank on harvesting flowers off of out in the field because there's a good chance that they're not going to make it. So those are going to be kind of the things to keep in mind when you're cruising and surfing the internet looking for varieties is if you're a zone 5 and you're field growing, look for an early bloom time.
Good answer. Let's see if this will all fit. I joined late, so I assume I missed the dahlia specific conversation. I've ordered URCs and RC dahlias. What medium would you recommend I plant the URCs in? Vermiculite potting soil, cubes, or should I use a dome for increasing humidity?
Sure. So, fun fact, I have tried all of those things. I've over the years I've done all of those medias. And from my perspective, there are a few key things that we need to keep in mind. And then you can use this information however you best see fit to apply to your situation. But when it comes to rooting cuttings, airflow and oxygen availability is incredibly important. If you are trying to root something that does not have oxygen available to the plant tissue, you are going to be dealing with a lot of fungal and rot issues. So my experience when I was growing in vermiculite, I was doing it under lights and I was using bottom trays to catch the water. The vermiculite was turning back into clay, and it was basically rotting all of my cuttings.
Hmm.
Potting soil is a great way to root material for relatively lower investment. The important thing with potting soil is to make sure that you are able to do consistent waterings and that the water can flow through the media. Same thing is going to go with root riot cubes or any sort of synthetic cube material or manufactured cube. Those typically are not going to have as high of a water holding capacity as a media that would have any sort of peat or fibrous material involved. So you're going to be needing to water them more. Um,
Mhm.
Domes are kind of a touch and go subject line when it comes to cuttings. Airflow is important. So if you're using a dome to increase your humidity, um, don't have it on all the time. When I was growing indoors and I was using racks and grow lights and all of the above, I can't tell you how many box fans I had set up in my basement just to keep airflow moving. So those are all very important things to consider. You know, kudos to you for knowing and asking those questions because there's a lot of information that I can share, but it just comes to refining.
Are you familiar with growing mums in zone 10?
Zone 10. Okay, here we go. So you are going to be a lucky winner for some of those super late blooming varieties, the biggest, the fanciest, the showiest ones, those are for you. Those are your bread and butter. When we are talking about growing mums in a very hot environment, you're going to want to make sure that you are watering and you're feeding heavily, because your plants are going to be using more of that water and that nutrient load than someone in the north would be, because you have a much longer growing season. So when we are talking about the nutritional needs of chrysanthemums, make sure you've got plenty of nitrogen up front and available for that plant to use, because they're just growing leaves, and leaves are a very heavy nitrogen user. And then we're going to want to taper that off towards the middle end of the season when you start to see buds being set. Too much nitrogen can cause bud abortion or bud burn, and that's not something that we want to see, especially with chrysanthemums when you only get one shot to see that show.
And what size pot should I put the URC in?
Sure, yeah. So URCs, you're going to want to keep them pretty close together so that they can also help hold humidity close together. Um, uh, an idea would be, if you're getting a 10 pack of URCs, stick them all into one 4-inch pot, and then put a Ziploc bag over top to hold the humidity right around the vegetation. And then when those roots start to come out of the bottom of that 4-inch pot, then you can go ahead, open that pot up, take those plants apart, and then plug them into either a 50 cell or their own individual 4-inch pots.
As a new flower gardener, do you have a 4-pack of mums or dahlias that are filled with 4 different varieties? So she's looking for a mix pack.
Sure. So we do not. The only way that you would be able to get singles of varieties is from the specialty dahlia collection, where those dahlias do only come in singles. Everything else would be sold as a 4.
See, they're not believing just like I'm not believing. Are you saying that the zone 5 hardy plants can be left in the field over winter if I'm in zone 7? I think
Ab-
you're saying yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is a very big discussion point when it comes to chrysanthemums. We as consumers have been sold fall garden mums
Mm-hmm.
under the Hardy or under the Yoder or under the Northern Grown brand for so long. And there is one fundamental cultural thing that is kind of giving that marketing and that messaging a bad rap. Um, when you purchase a big, beautiful fall showy mum that is being marketed and sold as hardy or a hardy mum, it's already in flower by the time it's sold to you. So if you plant that into your garden or by your front door or by the sidewalk, there is not enough time for those roots to anchor themselves in and to utilize the earth's natural warmth over the winter. Whereas the mums that we're selling to you, they're coming as small plants like this. So they have all season to send roots as deep as they can to grow in and naturalize. That naturalizing process is what's going to give them the energy, the oomph, and the gusto to get through that cold winter. And yes, we have them in the landscaping. They bloom religiously every year in town, at the farm here. Yeah, yep. Zone 5
Awesome.
mums are great.
Zone 3, I plant in raised beds, containers in ground. Last frost met end of May, first frost September, but usually earlier. Since mums are late bloomers, not sure where to plant as will need protection. So that is a good one. That's an early frost date. So are there any that would be expected to bloom by then?
Yes. So I'm racking my brain for the earliest of the ones that I see in my walkthroughs. But out of the Zone 5 collection that you'll find on our website, there are some that will hit that window for bloom. Um, that is going to be Royal Glamour, which is one of the varieties that we covered today.
Mm.
Also, Blush Strokes is quite early. French Vanilla is also very early. So there are ones that will hit that timeline. The thing to remember is that if you are able to provide some sort of frost protection through those first cold nights, you will be able to experience that show for a longer period of time. Frost protection for our mums is going to be the same as any other plant that you want to cover. So bed sheets or frost cloth, agribon, rime, all of those are more than enough and plenty to keep those early first frosts from settling onto the petal tips.
How to deal with aphids on such a large scale?
Sure. So we're very fortunate and lucky that we don't have a lot of aphid pressure in the field. We see more of our aphid issue happening inside greenhouses because we're growing and forcing this plant material that is very soft and tender in the wintertime. So what we have done in the past is rely very heavily on beneficials when and where we can. And then if something blows up way out of proportion, and we just can't physically get ahead of it, then we will use synthetics and sprays just to make sure that we're keeping things as clean as we can.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, Drew. So review just, I know that you and I, before we came on, were talking about you have a window closing
Yes,
in the next couple of days.
yes,
And let's just review that again, when they should order, when they should plan for their shipment to land for them, and what maybe the next three windows are.
sure. So if you're wanting to get plant material for week 16, which is the middle of April, that shipping cycle is going to close in the next 24 to 36 hours. So you're going to want to get your orders placed, your varieties selected, and get those submitted as quickly as possible. Because as soon as that window closes, then all of that data, like we talked about earlier, is being filtered and filed on our end, and those plants are being actively propagated stat, so that they've got plenty of time, so that we've got a ready to go material to ship to you. That cycle will continue every 2 weeks. So we have a shipping cycle on week 16, which we said is the middle of April, week 18, which is the end of April, first part of May, week 20, which is the middle of May. That week 18 and week 20 is going to be the bulk of our shipping because that's when we're providing plants for the vast majority of growers in the States. So that is a date that I would probably suggest the vast majority of people shoot for, is that week 18. If you are a Southern grower, like that person from Zone 10, then definitely get your varieties selected and get into that week 16 shipping
And
cycle.
that just gives you a little time to digest and figure out what you want. So that is pretty awesome. So is there anything else that we didn't talk about that we should mention here for people?
So the last series or plant collection that we haven't talked about is
Oh,
Gypsophylla or baby's breath. Yes,
yes.
yes. So one of the things that I was very happy and lucky and fortunate to see when I was in the Netherlands in 2024 was a really exceptional series of baby's breath that is grown from cuttings. It is primarily scentless, so it does not smell like cat pee.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and it is sterile, meaning that it is not producing seed. So it doesn't have the option or the availability to be an invasive, which is a problem that we're seeing in some regions with the baby's breath that is sold commercially as bedding plants, as those are oftentimes grown from seed. So we've got a handful of varieties that we have trialed in the past year. We also are bringing in a bunch of new varieties of baby's breath that is grown from cuttings. It's available as 4 packs. And there is also a pink one that I'm very excited to be sending and selling. The baby's breath are very, very easy to grow. They handle cold temperatures like champs. I was doing a field walk just the other day, and all of the baby's breath was already coming back to life, and I was not expecting that at all. And They are incredibly rugged. They made it through our zone 5 with flying colors. So that's all very, very exciting when it comes to anyone who's growing, because if you're looking for filler that is light and fluffy and airy and whimsical, easily recognizable, and also available in large volumes, that is a type of plant and a plant line that checks all of those boxes.
I saw your reel or video of you
Yes.
discovering that baby's breath. I mean, there's just nothing better. There's just nothing better than experiencing that, right?
Yeah. I didn't know what to expect, but I pulled the first one out and I felt a little resistance. And I was like, this is crazy. And then I looked at it and there was already shoots coming out of the base of the crown, and I was like, what?
Yeah, that's awesome. So
Wild.
they'll find that also on your website.
Correct. Yep. So on the shop plants page is where we have all of the collections available, and the gypsophylla is there.
And so what else was I going to ask you? So, if you want to get in on the April 15th, mid-April shipping date, you better hop to it. It's never too late, but
Make
it
it
can
happen.
be too early, is what um,
Yeah.
you know? All right. Well,
Yes.
Drew, this has really been informative and helpful. And I just hope it, I'm just really hoping we wanted to bring you to our people um, because I remember, this was so long ago. I mean, long time ago. The first plugs I ever purchased were from Germania. And I knew nothing. We didn't even have the internet back then, Drew,
Yep.
hardly. I mean, most people didn't even have a computer. I ordered them on the phone,
Yep.
and I learned about them through the ASCFG. And I ordered a dianthus, and it was called Gypsy. And
Yes.
there wasn't somebody like you offering small quantities. I mean, I had like been flower farming like 2 or 3 years. I bought like a box of this hot pink gypsy. I probably had 400 plants. I could not give it away. I mean, you can't sell that much of one
Yep.
color. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I'm just so grateful that today there are people that are starting out that have an option to be able to dive into these varieties, as you've mentioned, that are curated, the heirloom mums and the dahlias and now the baby's breath as well. So I just think that that's just a great opportunity. And I appreciate you making it available to people because I can tell you from somebody that would make so good use of that. I mean, even if you bought, as you mentioned, 10 strips, that means that you can have a variety of
Right.
blooms instead of having one full 72 cell of all the same thing. So I think
Yep.
that's I think that's a great opportunity for gardeners, for up and coming growers, and people getting their feet wet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I thank you for the opportunity, and it's really wonderful to continue to see where all of our plants and hard work takes us.
Yeah. All right, my friends. So the website is up. If you're in Instagram or Facebook, you can use the code or put in the comments plant and the number 3, and we'll DM you the link. And so I am just pretty excited about all this. And Jesse, thank you for working in behind the scenes with everybody here. And thank you guys so much for joining us here tonight. And until we meet again, my friends, ciao. Bye, Drew.
Bye.